Language maintenance and shift. There are many different social reasons for choosing a particular code or variety and multilingual community. How do economic and political factors influence language choices? In countries like England, Australia, New Zealand, and the US, the school is one of the first domains in which children of migrant families meet English. They may have watched English programs and heard English used in shops before starting school, but at school they are expected to interact in English. Because a grandparent knew little English, many even continue to use mainly her mother tongue at home, even though she had learned English at the school and used it more and more at work. In many families, however, English gradually infiltrates the home through the children. Children discuss school and friends in English with each other, and gradually their parents begin to use English to them too, especially if they are working in jobs where they use English. Migrants who look and sound different are often regarded as threatening by majority group members. There is pressure to conform in all kinds of ways. Speaking good English has been regarded as a sign of successful assimilation. Non-migrant communities. Armin is an Iranian teacher of English. He is concerned that Farsi, the official language of Iran, is displacing his native language Azeri. One piece of evidence supporting this concern about Azeri is that the streets of his hometown, Tabriz, are full of signs in the Farsi language. What is more, people are not taught to read or write Azeri, despite the fact that there is a rich literature in the language. Some of it housed in book in the Tabriz library. So there is a vicious cycle. People don't use Azeri in public signs because they know that literacy in Azeri is almost non-existent. Over the last couple of centuries, many speakers of Irish, Scottish Gaelic, and Welsh, for instance, have shifted to England and consequently to English, primarily in order to get work. They need English both for their jobs, success, and for their social well-being.
Factors contributing to language shift. Economic, social, and political factors. First, obtaining a job is the most obvious economic reason for learning another language. The more the second language is used, it pushes to bilingualism and potentially to language shift. The second important factor then seems to be that the community sees no reason to take active steps to maintain their ethnic language. They may not see it as offering any advantages to their children, for example, or they might not realize that it is in any danger of disappearing. Without active language maintenance, shift is almost inevitable in many contexts. Demographic factors. Demographic factors are also relevant in accounting for the speed of language shift. Resistance to language shift tends to last longer in rural than in urban areas. It is partly because rural groups tend to be isolated from the center of political power for longer, and they can meet most of their social needs in their ethnic or minority language. The size of the group is sometimes a critical factor also. Intermarriage between groups can accelerate language shift. Unless multilingualism is normal in a community, one language tends to predominate in the home. Attitudes and values. Language shift tend to be slower among communities where the minority language is highly valued. When the language is seen as an important symbol of ethnic identity, it is generally maintained longer. Positive attitudes support efforts to use the minority language in a variety of domains, and it helps people resist the pressure from the majority group to switch to their language.
Where language is considered an important symbol of a minority group's identity, for example, the language is likely to be maintained longer. If families from a minority group live near each other and see each other frequently, this also helps them maintain their language. Emigrate is a degree and frequency of contact with the homeland, a regular stream of new migrants or even visitors will keep the need for using the language alive.
Language revival. Sometimes a community becomes aware that its language is in danger of disappearing and takes deliberate steps to revitalize it. Attempts have been made in Ireland, Wales, and Scotland, for example, to preserve the indigenous languages. And in New Zealand, steps are being taken to attempt to reverse language shift and revitalize Maori. It is sometimes argued that the success of such efforts will depend on how far language loss has occurred, that there is a point of no return. There is clearly no magic formula for guaranteeing language maintenance or for predicting language shift or death. Different factors combine in different ways in each social context, and the results are rarely predictable. Though economic and political imperatives tend to eliminate minority languages, it is important to remember examples like Welsh and Hebrew, which demonstrate that language can be maintained or even revived when a group values their distinct identity highly and regards language as an important symbol of that identity. Finally, it is important to realize that pressure towards language shift occurs mainly in countries where monolingualism is regarded as normal and bilingualism is considered as unusual.